Welcome to Act 2 You're On. Join us weekly at our studio roundtable as Rhonda, Kate, and Linda invite spectacular guests to weigh in on staying sexy, vibrant, and healthy. Launch your next great act with authenticity and purpose.
Summon your courage, superstar, and step into the limelight. So grab a coffee
or a martini,
and let's set the stage for a grand entrance. It's Act 2.
You're on.
Hello, friends in the A2YO studio. I am Rhonda Garvin-Conaway, and I am joined by my amazing co-hosts,
Linda Ty.
And I'm Kate Levy, and we are also joined by our talented producers, Susan Nagel and Kathy Carswell.
We're so excited today. I am especially excited. I feel like I'm hijacking the show a little bit.
Go for it.
But here we go. Friends, have you ever met someone whose impact remained with you for your lifetime? Someone who makes everyone around them feel valued, respected, and inspired? Someone who models what it means to take risks, commits to hard work, and puts their creativity out into the world time and time again. I believe today's guest is that person. I wanted to have today's guest on for two reasons. Number one, when you meet a truly wonderful human being, you want the world to know them and know the joy that they bring as much as you've experienced. And number two, I see this guest story of reinvention in his Act 2, 3, 4 as a model for us all. If you have a great vision or idea burning inside you that you are longing to let out, then I believe our next guest story could be your story, my story, or everyone's story. My friends, Peter Alderman is an award-winning educator in Natick, Massachusetts. After teaching for 37 years, Mr. A, as he is often affectionately known, was inducted into the Natick Wall of Fame for his contributions to his students, and a scholarship is also in his name. Peter Alderman has written several children's books. He co-wrote Soccer Counts with well-known children's author Barbara McGrath. Soccer Counts has gone electronic and bilingual and is sold worldwide. The Rocket's Red Glare, an historical account of the origin of our national anthem, and accompanied by a CD by Platinum Award-winning artist Jody Messina in his most notable creation to this point. However, his first novel, Train Tracks, has emerged as the #1 new release for drama on Amazon. It is certainly not a children's book, as it explores the darker side of life in a quick-moving, riveting style. In addition to these noteworthy details, Peter Alderman was also my 6th grade teacher and one of the most influential educators I've had the privilege of knowing. Mr. Alderman, we are thrilled to have you here in our conversation in the A2YO studio. Welcome.
I'm honored and humbled. You're an inspiration as a student for me, believe me.
Thank you very much. I think you have a gift of making all the young people and even older people feel that way in your company. And that's what makes you so extraordinary.
Thank you.
So I'm going to start off by just following curiosity. You've been an educator for several decades, over 3 decades, and now a published author. And we're going to spend some time talking about your newest novel, Train Tracks. But right now, let us know about what it was for you that got you started on writing and publishing these books.
Basically, when I was in high school, the teacher read one of my papers to the class, and surprised me. I wasn't expecting that at all. And one of the guys on the basketball team turned to me and said, "He didn't write that." Yeah, I did. And then I basically wrote my way into college and got a scholarship. They said they wanted me to stay there, so at Western Michigan University, I was able to get basically a free ride. Then at Boston College, similar type of thing happened. And I was very, very fortunate. Then, as far as writing the books were concerned, Barbara McGrath was the one who gave me my first shot at it. And she asked me to help her write Soccer Counts, because I had coached and played soccer. And she she's my sister-in-law, which helped. So there's a connection there, family connection. But she is incredibly talented and very receptive to my ideas and so on. So then we wrote Soccer Counts together, and I asked if I could implement historical information into Soccer Counts because I taught ancient Civ. And so as a result, the combination of us two working on it, editing and so on, it turned out to be a huge success, for my first book. But that's probably how I got started.
That's a great story. And I love that sometimes we have people in our own world that have similar passions and career paths, and we can join together and create that synergistic experience. It's very powerful.
Well, it's nice for her to open the door for me, really, because I like to write. And it's easier for me to write than to speak.
I remember you talking about your own writing when I was a student in your classroom, and how you would share your own personal experience and how that stayed with me for years every time I go to write, that you modeled that vulnerability. And that was very helpful to hear that firsthand.
Not to worry, if you're going to be a writer, if you're going to be an artist in any way or any endeavor that you pursue, don't worry about making mistakes. In fact, don't even have a goal. Just do what you want to do naturally, and then it will unfold. But basically, I just did it for enjoyment. I never worried about what would happen, if it would be successful or not successful. I just, threw it out there and wanted to see what would happen.
It's so good. Well, it's good for us to hear that it's okay to make mistakes, but certainly for people who are listening, who are starting a new phase of their lives, or like Rhonda said, they have a great idea. You're going to make mistakes, count on it. And actually, sometimes mistakes are our greatest educators, because you make a bad mistake, you think, oh, I'm not going to do that one again. But that's a wonderful point for us to hear and for our listeners. And I want to thank you for Train Tracks and these other beautiful books. I was kind of slogging along with some nonfiction. So this came at the perfect time. And I enjoyed this story so much. It was, I loved the arc of the characters. And it was really just well done, great message. And I wonder if you can share with us what was the motivation for writing this novel, because you had been primarily working, with literature for younger children. So Train Tracks, which was, of course, the #1 release for drama on Amazon when it came out. But what was your motivation when you started to write this?
There are layers of motivation with that. I like to write prose better than I like to write poetry. And I think that's reflected in The Rocket's Red Glare. Then I wanted to get more creative, because there's limitations to the audience when you're writing children's books. So I just wanted to write a book for adults and not have the limitations. As you know, there's some salty language in there, but it's necessary for character development. And my youth growing up was not very... wasn't pleasant. It had some real dark sides. And so what I was able to do was to pluck some of the experiences and episodes from my youth and plug it into the book. And it wasn't a hard write for me as far as being creative. I just took situations and plugged it in. And my motivation really was to let people read it and learn from it, and try to learn how to deal with their own adversity and obstacle, because everybody has them. And so it was an important book for me. My wife said, a friend of mine told me, he said, Peter, why don't you write a book about your youth? I mean, my wife said, don't do it. You want to go back there. So I was able to integrate some segments of my youth, in the book.
That's amazing. Yeah, I too, this book is really extraordinary. I loved, you start the book off. I just want to read this because I think it's really amazing. It really set this for me. Inside each of us, there is the seed of both good and evil. It's a constant struggle as to which one will win, and one cannot exist without the other. So I feel like this book is so timely. I feel like this is as a culture, we're kind of going through this. Which one will we give into? Which one will we select? And it made me think of E.O. Wilson. I don't know if you've seen of Ants and Men or read that, but he basically did this extraordinary work on sociobiology, and he was criticized and said no, because he's studying animals and he included humans. And one of the books was, of his life and work was The Wonder of Nature, the evolution of humanity's divided self and our need to heal ourselves by coming to terms with our place in the natural world. Mm-hmm. And so when I started your book, I really felt like you illustrated for me, because I don't know your story. For me, it was all about that. There's through these fictional characters who had this good and had this, drawn to evil, and their situations and what happened to them and how they fell to their darker selves. But then there was this resilience about them as well. And so it's just so brilliantly and with such great heart and humanity that you describe that experience that we all have deep down inside.
Well, thank you for saying that. It means a lot to me. And that was my objective, to really reach out to people and have them learn lessons through the characters in the book. I'm usually opposed to clicks and to negativity. And I like the fact when people are able to overcome obstacles and they learn from their mistakes. I think also to enjoy and value life, and just if you can look at your life and realize that these obstacles are actually stepping stones to better things, then you can be more receptive to accepting them and dealing with them. Because stuff happens in life to everybody. It wasn't just me. I mean, anybody, any of you folks could write a story, because there's things that happen in your life. So, but it's how you deal with those obstacles that really make a person who they are. You have a choice. You can go in a negative direction or a positive direction. How do I handle the situation to make it better? And my kids, I brought them up that way. My wife and I did. She's my high school sweetheart. And she never cared. I mean, I brought baggage along, and she never cared. And I'm so grateful to her. But we brought our kids up to realize that no one's better than you, and you're not any better than anybody else. And they're all three of them are very successful, but not because of having great minds, or they're just really good people. So people want to be around them. For your audience, two of my boys are in the music business, and they deal with some very significant artists. And the other one is CEO or something. I don't even know what his title is of a company. And he's so humble, and you would never know it. He is our youngest one, Jay. But my wife and I just lucked out,
I think your kids lucked out.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very kind of you to say. That is so thoughtful of you to say, because that's my biggest achievement. Our biggest achievement, our family, children.
Absolutely.
There really is so much to who we are as people. It's not black and white. It's not cut and dry. And I think in the novel, you touch on that in very dramatic ways. Parts of it for me were really hard to read, having been an educator myself and loving children. It was very difficult, but important to read and bear witness to.
It's funny you say, I'm sorry.
No, please continue.
It's funny you say that. I had several people talk to me and say they couldn't read beyond the first chapter. And I told them, I said, give it a chance, read on. And then they read the whole book. They came back and had glowing reviews for it. So it was just shocking, but so many lessons, and you never knew which way it would turn. So I'm happy that it's going to be the second printing's coming because it'll be void of any editing issue.
And we are happy for you in that too. It's all part of the process, I think. From where I sit, having known you, I can recall other things about you, both in the classroom and outside of the classroom. I remember you having a company that you worked at when we were done with school, and I would see you doing landscaping. And then later on in life, when you retired from being a full-time classroom teacher, I worked alongside you doing literacy instruction with students after you had retired. And I happen to know you've done a few other things with jobs and careers. And I think there's so many lessons to be held in that way of living. Can you talk a little bit about why you've chosen to do that and not just pursue one thing, and what that's meant to you to be a person of reinvention?
Wow. Leonardo da Vinci was my favorite Renaissance. Well, he was known as the Renaissance man, but I love the Renaissance period where people were really diversified. And I wanted to be able to do multiple things, like to sing and play the guitar and write a book and just do a video. In fact, this also helped me with my writing as well, because I won 2 awards for documentaries. Wow. And well, there were local awards for documentaries for Bravo and so on. And again, everything I do has something to do with education, to teach people. And it was just kind of a fun experience. It was a writing experience and filming experience, and I had a great time with that. But I think, like going back to Leonardo da Vinci, they did everything back then. They were athletes, they were writers, they were artists, they played music, they did sculptures. And I said, I don't want to be a one-dimensional person. I want to try as many things as I can and try to achieve as much as I can, because you only have one shot in life.
Can we hold up these beautiful pictures? So
Yes.
For people who can't see, I'm holding up a staggeringly beautiful book. It's called The Rocket's Red Glare. This is the one that Jody Messina recorded for the Grammy nomination. And it includes a CD of the Star Spangled Banner. The artwork is absolutely stunning. This is just every part of this, the story, the artwork, the heart of it is just a gorgeous book. If you are out there and you're wondering if you have a gift that you want to give, not only to a child, it's a children's book, but this is a treasure. This is something you have on your, you have out on your, in your living room. It's just a stunning book.
It's true. I can't tell you how many people I've given that to.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It's and Jody Messina, she's a friend of ours, and I called her up and said, Jody, would you do me would you make a recording on the national anthem and do a reading of a book that I wrote? And she didn't hesitate. She did it, without any, financial compensation, and it turned out to be a great book, and it's got recognized all over the world. Actually, it's sold. But and Bima Ritz, whom I've never met, I've communicated with email. She's the artist behind all of that. And then the publishing company, Flower Pot Press, they're the ones who have their team do all the decorating and design and so on. Yeah, I was very, very pleased with that. Honored.
And I am lucky enough to be holding Soccer Counts. And this is the book you collaborated with Barbara McGrath. And oh, wow, I love this. And for folks who can't see it, each of these books, from the novel to the picture books, is so uniquely different in not only the illustrations, their presentation, but the way they are written. So can you talk to us a little bit more about Soccer Counts? I think so many people will be interested in ordering this.
Barbara McGrath is a very prolific writer, and she's a great person. And like I said earlier, she asked me to help her write a book, and because I played soccer and coached it, and from then on, she wanted to collaborate on other books with us, but we moved down to Tennessee to be near our kids, and it wasn't really possible. But the historical aspect of it, the fun aspect of it, and I enjoy going to different schools and talking about writing and the creative mind, and just letting your thoughts flow and stuff. And I use that as a vehicle to present all that information with it. But that's basically it.
And how about ABCs of Health? Linda's holding that one.
That book, the ABCs of Health, was endorsed by 3 pediatricians. I sent it to a doctor and 2 other doctors. Loved the idea. They loved having it in the rooms, waiting rooms for patients, and they could share. And they really like the ABCs is kind of deceptive because it seems ABCs encompasses a lot of information. It's an ABC book. A is for apple, B is for banana, and so on. However, it goes on to tell the benefits of eating, let's say, an apple.
That's so great. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love it.
So I wanted it to be more informational, not just with pictures of different kinds of fruits and vegetables and so on. And the objective was achieved.
It sounds like all through your teaching career, you were also writing, as Rhonda speaks about you doing different things. Do you feel like that extension into taking on several projects helped you to transition in one act to the other act? Or what would you say about that?
Interesting you say that, because I think about the books I've written that have gotten published, and they're really different. They're really, I guess the closest to our ABCs of Health and Soccer Counts. And then we transition to something like The Rocket's Red Glare, and that's just a hugely historical book. In Williamson County, which is a huge county in Tennessee where we live, teachers requested that they buy the book for all the second grade teachers. It also comes with a CD, or DVD rather. what is this thing called? And it's terrific in that and Jody sings along with the book, and it's a beautiful rendition of the book, and it makes it come alive.
Mm.
I'm really happy with that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Peter, I wonder if we can shift toward what we call the golden nugget. So, this is a part of our show where we ask for a kernel of truth or something that you have experienced, something that you have learned along the way that might be helpful for folks.
My wife and I, we've been married for 53 years.
Congratulations.
And I took her to a restaurant on our 50th anniversary. I said, Pam, do you realize we've been married 50 years? And she said, I know. And she smiled. And I said, I never realized I married somebody so old. Sense of humor is important. She just would shake her head. But she's a great girl. But sense of humor in a lot of things. And try never to take yourself too seriously. To value everybody who comes into your life. And value yourself. Everybody has something special to offer. Everybody. And I used to tell that to the kids when I was teaching. Everybody is special here. You might not be a great athlete, might not be a great writer, and not be a great mathematician, but you have something that is uniquely yours. And the best way to discover what that is to try as many things as you possibly can, almost like a Renaissance man. Try everything. See what sticks to the wall. See what works. But don't be afraid. Just try it. And when something doesn't work, just realize, well, I guess that one isn't for me. That type of endeavor is not for myself. And don't have expectations that are excessive. I didn't have any expectations about my writing. None. Whatever happened, happened. Whatever fell in place would fall in place. Wherever direction it went, okay. And also with the writing, this is a warning to anybody who wants to pursue it. It is really hard to publish a book. Incredibly hard. And there are so many rejections. The same thing with the music business. So many rejections. But, just don't stop. Keep trying. If this is something you really want to do, just keep on pursuing it. And I pursued it through self-publishing with train tracks because that was the only route I could go, because it's really hard to get somebody to pick up a novel. But it's taking off. It really is very pleasant. So don't be so judgmental that you're going to try to balance things off. And not everybody is like you. Don't expect them to be. Embrace the diversity of people. That's basically okay to go.
That's good. That's
amazing.
An amazing statement of your philosophy of living.
Yes,
Every bit of it.
absolutely. Yeah. And unfortunately, I'm the timekeeper, and unfortunately our time is up, and we have just loved our time with you so much and so
Thank
great.
you so much. I'm totally honored and appreciative. And you folks have been very welcoming and made this whole process so much fun.
Oh, you
Well,
have made it really a joy. And we just want to ask you one more little quick thing is what's next for you? After Train Tracks, where do you go from there?
Well, some people want me to write a sequence, but I don't know if that's in the cards.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing, I'd like to write a book for my grandkids about just for them, not for any, if somebody else could have, but basically to talk about some of the things I mentioned, the important things in life, what really make your heads not stuck, and it's how you treat people and how enjoying others, just like, I want to avoid being redundant, but those types of things, but directed to the 7 grandsons that we have.
Wow.
Well, that would be a true treasure, as are you. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for taking time to speak with us today. You've left your mark with me, and now we really
Wonderful.
appreciate you sharing
Great.
that. That's
Yes.
awesome. Thank you again for today and for affecting children. And I would say all the students of many ages, you continue to be a great model and teacher for all of us.
Oh, Rhonda, thank you so much. Thank you all for your kindness.
Thank you. And thank you to our wonderful producers, Kathy Carswell and Susan Nagel behind the scenes and make this all happen. We couldn't do it without them.
And we also just want to let folks know that in addition to LinkedIn, if you wanted to purchase the books, we can go to
Amazon and Barnes and Noble, right? Soon. You'll be able
Some
to
of them will be at Barnes and Noble, and Train Tracks will be eventually. The other books, ABC and The Rocket Sword Glare and Soccer Counts, may not be available because there's only a certain amount of shelf time for books. So they may have run the course, but Amazon would be your best bet.
So don't wait.
Don't wait. Get them before they're gone.
Especially with the holiday season.
Yeah.
Almost.
The time is now. Absolutely. Well, it is left for me to say, go forth, be brave, live well, and do good, because it's Act 2. You're on.
Act 2 You're On was brought to you by Act 2 Share Our Stage. You can find us at a2yo.com and also on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Please listen and subscribe wherever you find your podcast. You can support us using Patreon. Thanks for listening.